if that catch on to Gideon doesn't happen, if BDD and Peter don't make that one play, the game continues for a while, you know, and we get to see some Aphelios action, but it was a kind of, to me, like, yes, a lot of control that's there for KT Rolster, but they snapped the neck of Nongshim suddenly, and then it was like, okay, now the game is just not playable. They had some moments, but we're going to see possibly the same bans. Like, it might even be the exact same ones on both sides. We'll see if that does eventuate. It feels a little bit better now that the Wukong is gone. I mean, we're not thinking about that one at all, but Yorick will be banned against Perfect here. He got his Rumble in game 1.
I guess they saw Doran yesterday. They're like, nope, we don't want to see that again.
Kingan took his Rumble away. Now they took his Yorick away. Played Ornn. With no Wukong, you have to ban Yunara on red side. In general, you probably should, in general, do that. But I think without Wukong, you're like, really have to do that?
And, you know, if Taliyah gets not banned by the blue side, they could leave both Azir and Taliyah available. Taliyah's gone, though, which means that Varus is hanging out.
Yeah, Varus and Azir are the likely candidates, as Gio will pick up the Varus now. If you can't lock Varus here, you know, like, and you're in the Legend group, then we have to have a different type of discussion, maybe off stream, but they will be able to lock it. And down, you know, goes lane prio for KT Rolster, likely. We have seen a few of these matchups go awry with some errors in the 2v2, but Varus does normally get control of the bottom push, which is why he's so highly prioritized. He's going to slam the Jhin in response.
There's no Sivir. He played it in game 1, so Jhin, the range is going to help out in that lane. Definitely feels like the next best thing into Varus. Thinking about a Nocturne here.
We have seen players like Hype get absolutely demolished on Varus into the Nocturne because it's so immobile. But there's not a lot of setup for the Nocturne otherwise just yet in this draft. I like the Annie because it's safe here. And even if they lock the Galio, you're like, well, I still have a lot of prio. You know, I have a lot of power in this lane. Galio very situational with a Varus alone right now in this draft. It's kind of been one of the most common responses to the Annie.
Yeah.
The Orion and Ryze are gone, so unless you want to run a Victor comp here, which I suppose they could, the Galio is probably the answer. Wow, it's almost like the LCK in Fearless is really easy to predict, Valdez.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think, ooh, okay, the Ambessa coming out here. You know, guys, Gwen is still available, but with Aurora just hanging out, I think both sides are like, nah, we don't want to blind it, and it just means that Renekton is playing into Ambessa as they elect to blind Ambessa instead.
So now we're looking at some late jungle picks here, and support, of course. Which pool would you rather choke out is the question. You know,
At this
picks
point,
like
probably jungle.
I think like Maokai's stocks are pretty up in this draft. Very strong with both drafts, but for the side of Nongshim, it's pretty scary. Nocturne works really well with Galio, as they're both global in how they ult in, powerful in sides.
How is Peter's Bard? That's a question I wish I knew the answer to, because if you play Bard into Varus, Jhin Bard is fantastic. You have a way to deal with that bottom lane, and then you also have a way to really make Varus's life a living nightmare, because then you just Bard ult and Jhin opens up, you've got Annie in your face, and good luck. Hope Galio can save you.
He has never played Bard in his career. Not even one time.
Yeah. So, probably not going to be Bard. If anything, maybe it's like Rel, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll just pick it right off the rip. Maybe he wants to see the pick of Lehens first.
Jarvan makes sense as a ban when you have the Varus up. Vi feels strong with the Galio, but has fallen off quite a bit. And I feel like with this draft, with how far away the Jhin is going to be and with your Annie, I wouldn't necessarily be as scared of the Vi, but relatively safe here, as Nico will be taken away for some lane safety. As both, you know, we're looking at jungles here, but we're also looking at the support pool. He's going to snap lock the Skarner. And maybe it's just a Maokai angle here for Gideon. I do think it's pretty good here. Yes, you have an AP mid laner, and that means that people don't like to play Maokai, but...
Well, I don't think it's going to be Rek'Sai.
Well, Gideon thinks maybe it is. I don't know.
I think maybe Ju thinks it's funny to hover it.
I don't know. Yeah, no, it's not going to be.
I don't know. You never know.
Viego.
Oh, it's just Elise for Lens.
Okay, Viego. I'm not really 100% on board with the Viego. A little bit more interested now with the Elise because you could set up that pick, and then you get the initial transformation for the Viego. So a little bit less skeptical about it now, and also feeling way less good about a Maokai pick with this setup of support.
This Bard angle is beautiful. Like, come on, Peter, pull it out. First time.
It's got to be a Bard, right? Like, the setup for Impale, for Tibber is... It is crazy to me that, like, I had to, like, quadruple check. He has never played Bard in his entire career. Like, not even one time.
I love Poppy. I even asked Wolf, are we going to see Poppy today in the series? And he shook his head.
Poppy's so hard to play into Elise. And it's otherwise not that great into this comp in general. It's really good into Ambessa's dashes.
Yeah.
That's great for objective control. Maybe he just isn't comfortable on Bard. I mean, his stats indicate that as much across. He has played... I have to do math to figure this out. He has played 296 games, if I'm not miscalculating. 296 games.
Yeah,
not
you're
a
right.
single one was Bard.
296 games.
And that's actually, no, 297, because this is not including game one.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So...
Oh, he's almost up to his 300th game.
That is wild. Either way, I think the Poppy is very strong in terms of objective control, but doesn't really work with his comp as much. And for once, you know, I like the Elise angle here, in part because they picked the Poppy into it, and it's going to struggle a little bit in the 2v2. Poppy, a pick that you sacrifice a lot of power in lane for, oftentimes when you're playing into a range support for power in skirmishes and power in early objective fights, but a little bit tricky in this game.
Don't give up, Lahens. There's so many sad raccoons in the audience.
Yeah,
today.
they're either sad or on fire.
Or being tortured. Yeah. It's not a fun time for the raccoons. And I think the Nongshim social media team is capitalizing on that as well. Definitely having a lot of fun.
Ooh, Renekton Toy!
Renekton Toy! It's happening, Wolf! Here we go. Game number 2 starts now. Yeah, I thought I heard a flash. Yeah, that's a flash out of the Annie. And now a second one as well.
At least level 1, ladies and gentlemen, with a 5-man group. And 2 flashes are obtained, as well as vision here on the red side jungle, on the red buff. All right, that's a start. We'll watch how this happened. Cousin BDD. This is actually like the worst case scenario. There's just like no saving this for BDD. He has to flash. There is like nothing he could have done, if you know, except not walk in like that, as they try to set up a bit of a 5-point start. And 2 flashes are taken away. Cocoon is strong.
Yeah. I feel like definitely... Okay, nice ward here. Gonna spot Gideon. Well, we'll see if Cuz can do anything about that, if he's going to invade and take the Raptors of his opponent. As now Hens is getting in there, Duck Dom taking a huge amount of damage already. The flash comes through from both of them, as Duck Dom barely going to live. But barely living is not a win. This is amazing for the side of Nongshim.
It's, you know, you're not going to give over gold, but you're really increasing the time it's going to take you to get back to lane. You're trying to get back as fast as possible. So you're sitting there going, I'm down both sums. My support is down a sum. And I'm sitting here going, oh boy, this is going to be a lot of lost XP. This is going to be a lot of lost money. And this Elise pick is really working out so far here in this early game. It's one of Lahens' favorites. Going back to comfort here, and it is working a treat. The Annie and Skarner losing flash, much less relevant in this early game because obviously the Annie is not going to really be pressured by Galio in lane too much, or shouldn't be. And the Skarner isn't going to need to flash in most scenarios in the early game, but now, like, no sums for Duckdom. Guess who's camping? Got a tint pitched right in the bottom brush.
Oh, Peter. Okay, just going to go in and face check it. Has flash, is just going to use it.
No summoners in the bottom lane. Better get some value of that spellbook real soon.
And Lehens, he's already played 10 games of Support Elise, which is a lot for a champ like Support Elise, but it's really just him. I know there was a meta where we kind of had it around, but then it really fell off hard. But he's still pulling it out. And we talked about it in the draft, especially if you're going to pick Poppy into this. He's just going to love that you disrespected him.
It's just crazy that you would pick Poppy into this. And obviously, you know, they got jumped on. We'll probably take a look at the replay. I'm not entirely sure why Duckdom and Peter were that far up at the first 2v2. But then in the second one here, it's like, well, what do you do as Peter? Do you just let them have full control and hope that you can play the game, or do you face check? You probably don't face check, but you're Poppy, so you can't really do anything at all except lose the lane when you're behind already. Feels pretty disastrous. Now, they don't get any kills, but I mean, they can get a free swap here to the top side. And you can see the wave is still being cleared by Duckdom and Peter down the bottom side themselves. Kingen can just TP to catch that wave. Yeah, flashless Skarner, just gonna get taunted.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting pathing from Gideon. He skipped the top scuttle, went bot scuttle instead, and then now he's just gonna go for the full clear once again from his bottom side of his own jungle from the Krugs. But there were a lot of pings, and Perfect had to play pretty safe because they thought maybe, you know, from the full clear from bot to top that he could wrap around the ward that was in the river and maybe get a gank off, but instead he's just in full farm mode on this Viego.
Viego's hungry. He's got to eat, and he's got to get big and strong in the early game. That's what he's looking to do. Lehens is like, all right, you know.
Little Hex Flash. Little action coming in.
Without his AD carry there, he does not win those, actually. So nice little play there from Peter. Good follow-up from Duckdom, well coordinated. Calyx is kind of smashing this lane, by the way.
All right, we're just diving the mid lane turret. The flash comes in from Gideon. That's first blood going over to Calyx already. And Cuz is a level 4 Skarner. And so he doesn't really get to do anything. A very nice dive and calculation here from Nongshim.
And maybe I've watched too many of our big three Annie games to kind of warp my perception of this matchup. But yeah, he's just walking towards BD, who doesn't have his flash still. And it's just a few seconds away, but in those few seconds they capitalize. Good gank from Gideon. And nice setup there from Calyx. And this game is just constantly action.
Yeah, Peter going in again takes a huge amount of damage. And yes, he did a bit here to Lehens, but you can see the control that Gio has over this lane now because of his support Elise. I mean, Duckdom's just trying to survive.
Duckdom doesn't have barrier. He's Jin, so it's hard for him to consistently output damage in these types of trades. Peter's looking for a funky angle here.
They're just poking Duckdom out of here. He's barely even able to farm.
Great spacing by Gio here. And like you said, farm lead is starting to really become a problem. He was able to buy his Swifties on that first back. Second back, I should say. And he's otherwise just kind of trying to survive, trying to stabilize, pulling his jungler up here now.
It's because here we got a TP coming in as well from Peter, and now the Galio over the top, but it looks like Calyx is a little bit on his own here. Doesn't quite look like HT have the damage. Another TP's coming in from BDD. That's not going to do all too much. Just a little bit slow trying to follow the Galio.
Kane playing this lane really well, realizing that shield. I think the thing that caught Nongshim a little bit off guard was the Poppy unsealed teleport.
Okay.
This is just an insane amount of control for Calyx. Flashes for the taunt. And the angle of approach here for his jungler. Gideon comes through, I think. BD, I mean, realizing it could have happened, but obviously, but he's just a little bit caught off guard. Doesn't have his flash anyways, as he had probably like 20 to 30 seconds left on it before it came back up from that earlier level 1. And Perfect thinks it's a 1v1. It's not.
Yeah, it's definitely not. The Dominus comes through, and immediately he knows, as spotted is Lehens. The control ward comes down, and eventually he just flashes away. I feel like maybe he would have been okay to just dodge that, as it didn't look like Kingen wanted to go in, but he wanted to play it very safe and make sure he did not die. Chains coming down, level 6 here for Jiu. Ton of damage coming in the 1v1. He is there, and another flash burned by a KT member. Now, Peter trying to set this one up. We don't have an Impale. The Heartbreaker over the wall is going to get Gideon to safety.
Yeah, it doesn't have flash, but has his ult, so he can get away here. KT get nothing in return. This is an unfortunate start to this game here for KT. It's not a lead that is insurmountable by any means, but close call there. I mean, you look at the items between Jiu and Duckdom, and it's no shock that he could just chunk him out of lane like that. He's got a Dirk, and Duckdom's got a longsword, and he has no barrier. It's Hail of Blades, Varus. So if you hit an ult, you're just like, I kill you. You have to leave.
Yeah.
You can't trade back on me if you're alone.
Peter going in again. Trying to set it up with the Deadly Flourish, but Jiu is just standing tall. You know, they gave him Varus. He has to get it down. Very nice. Cocoon going to force out the cleanse on top of it all. Gideon, meanwhile, is in here. The Impale going to sail wide. And Gideon is just collecting everywhere on the map.
Gideon's having a game. And I was mentioning, yesterday we had a little discussion off camera with some of the deskers about, is Gideon, is he still on form? And there were mixed opinions. I think Gideon still has a lot of raw talent that isn't always shown as Lehens.
Yeah, he's going to get bared here. And at least he's got his flash, so he will be okay.
And they're still going to get 3 grubs. So, yeah, maybe could have played a little bit safer there, but ultimately it doesn't really matter. This early game has been so... Like, if you look at the gold, it's only 1,000. That's going to snowball a little bit here with the pickup of these grubs and the control Calyx has still in this matchup against BDD. But it's a lot of the tempo. It's a lot of these matchups where you've seen Lehens just crush. You saw the 2 flashes gained at level 1 doesn't mean all too much until later when it does, right? When BDD can't flash, when Calyx flashes onto him for the taunt and stuff like that. It's these small little advantages that Nongshim has stacked up. I think in both games, they had a great early game. Game 1, sure, they traded some turret plates for objectives, but they knew exactly what their comp was capable of, and I thought their early game and their lane swap timing was really smart. And in Game 2 here, again, just kind of running the Rift with some of the big advantages they have, like at least into Poppy. They take that small advantage and turn it into such a massive lead in that bottom lane. We're looking at 20 CS the advantage here for Jiu. 0 kills on this Varus, but Duckdom is just stuck under turret, and that's just how it's going to be for a while.
Yeah, it's not a kill, as you mentioned, but he's still 500 gold ahead. So that really just tells the story of the way the lane has been going. Sometimes you don't need to get the kills. Like, the kills are the best, but you're still getting big wins, even if you're just denying your opponent a lot. As we do see Gideon trying to start up the Dragon and then thinking better of it, it seems, as he's got his jungle back. He's just been power farming, essentially.
I mean, he's like both power farming and power farming the enemy lanes as well. He's both out farming his Skarner, which he should, but also impacting the lanes quite significantly early on in this game. And it's hard to imagine him doing even more than he has already in this game. And yeah, he just wants to play it safe there on the objective. Doesn't want a hard force. BD is going to have his ult back up here in a second, and maybe we will actually have KT trying to muster up a fight here. It's tricky, though, as Lehens is also going to gank. Looks like here on the top side, there is some vision for Perfect.
I think Perfect, after the last one, might be thinking better. He's playing much safer. There's no vision of Lehens here, but he's got a decent idea that he could be getting dove, he could be getting ganked. And so it's good from Perfect. Perfect is the one guy, it feels like, who has been doing well in his lane, and that's, because they gave him the Renekton counter pick into Ambessa, and he's been doing well with it. Here comes Lehens. Yeah, just saying hello.
Gonna force some resources up here, like they got both Peter and Cuz to come up here. Gonna turn this into a 3v3. And look who also has prio in mid, it's Jiu. And now KT are going to really struggle to defend this. They may even need a TP from BDD if the commitment is there. But look at how much, like we talked just a moment ago about how Jiu had a 500 gold lead. He pushed that for a moment up to like nearly 800 with the mid prio that he has. And this is why picks like the Varus are just not allowed through, because they dominate the 2v2, then you get out of lane and you dominate the neutral in mid in so many matchups. Same with Yunara, same with Sivir, where you just constantly have that prio so you can force these dives topside, you can force resources to be used. KT have a lot of defensive vision up here on the top side, but is it enough?
I mean, Perfect knew this a million out of a million times. Like, Lens is going to be here.
Still nearly got hit by that.
Yeah. He had a decent enough reaction. Wasn't perfect, but, you know. Well, he is perfect, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, scary nonetheless.
Yeah.
But he knew it was coming, like you said, and obviously has his finger on his E key.
Finally, a Drake is going to come out here. I feel like Nongshim have had enough wins in the early game and enough control to go a little bit more aggressive on the objectives. Like, yeah, they got 3 grubs, but that's about it. They haven't really touched any of the turrets yet. A bit of plate damage here and there, but finally the first Drake comes out, and it's Chemtech next. So, going to be feeling very good about really any of the souls that come next.
Quite powerful, no matter which way you slice it. I think the reason why Nongshim didn't commit to Dragons early is they had opportunities to maybe make something happen topside. I think the one way they lose their tempo advantage is a lost fight or a slow fight on Dragon where they get T-burst or there's an Impale combo, and they just like, nah, let's just keep the variants out. Lehens, let's keep the variants out, yeah.
Keep the variants out, Lehens. Yeah, he's going to get knocked up. He's super dead. He doesn't have his flash. Very close to getting it back, actually, but not the case. It is going to be Jude getting a plate mid, so it's not the end of the world. But still, probably shouldn't be giving free kills over to Duckdom.
No, definitely not a good idea to do that. But that's not exactly what I meant, but kind of what I meant when I said, like, you don't necessarily need to take Dragon. You don't need to take any unnecessary risk. Play through only where you have this insane amount of control over the map. Like, Nongshim have 2, you know, icy cold hands gripping tightly onto the Rift right now. Like, KT don't really have a ton of vision. They don't have a ton of angles. And unless you make a mistake like Lehens did, it's hard for KT to do anything. And Duckdom just kind of keeps getting pushed out of the lane. More and more plate gold goes over to Geo. Top side you have control, and then with the prio you have in mid, you can kind of play through bottom or top. So you don't need to force a Dragon fight. You can just keep generating advantages till those plates fall off. Now they're gone. But you already got so much value out of them. 2,000 gold is the lead here for Nongshim, and it's really a lead everywhere, with the exception of support, obviously, but that's not important. Not really. I mean,
not as important as the other roles.
The Elise uses gold well and would like to be, you know, holding some kills here, but I don't think Lehens is gonna, you know, mess up his cocoon button because he's 300 gold behind.
Maybe the lead means that Peter hits his redemption a little bit faster and it turns something in a fight or something like that. But I like how Nongshim just, you know, they haven't really forced any team fights at this point in time. They've looked for opportunities, but that's essentially been it. As now we're going to get a fight up here on the top side, though. BDD taking a huge amount of damage, has to flash away. The Cocoon going to sail wide, actually, but it doesn't matter. Gideon gets in. And now the chain's going to hit the Skarner. Peter not really able to help out here.
Yeah, I don't know if Cuz was really willing to go in on that with Duckdom not having ult, not being there just yet. Wouldn't have been able to impact the play if he goes in further there. Doesn't get chained, maybe he gets chained later and is really hating himself as Peter's on a ward. He instantly scries after that. Damn, he got me. This is looking like the more this game goes on, the tougher it gets for KT. Now this is an overextension for Geo.
Yeah, he is isolated. He's alone. There's nobody around to help him. Oh, nice flash, though. He is trying to make something out of his mistake because on the run, and the arrow's going to miss. Meanwhile, in mid, getting pretty low. Peter trying to set it up. BDD going in very deep to try to force that kill. It's not quite going to happen, as now we got shots moving in on the Lehens, and he's going to be the sacrifice for his team, it looks like. They give the kill over to BDD, as KT, they finally strike back.
King, and we'll get a turret here in exchange. It looks like it's going to be first brick as well, which will be feats of strength for them. So that actually ends up being pretty good in terms of trade. Still, I feel like a better trade for KT, especially when you consider how far behind they are. And watch moments like this, and you're like, oh, is there really like anything that KT can do? BDD loses most of his health bar here. The Tibbers is going to help slow the advance. Gets taken out by Gideon, and then Cuz shows up, and it's like, yeah, you don't have anybody here for you. Peter is at like 1/4 health. This exchange, it's a little bit wonky. Gideon ends up getting caught here. And Calyx is trying to peel for him, obviously. What's more interesting is what happens with Geo in the top side moments later. Lehens is kind of like a secondary victim here as they're all just trying to save their jungler. But jump to this dragon. It's up in 45 seconds. We're not going to watch Geo overextend. I think that one doesn't really need much explanation. And like right now, KT still behind 3,500 gold. They do not have flash for their Annie. They're looking for an angle on Lehens, though.
Here we go again. I mean, Lehens just going to get caught out once again here on the Elise. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Calyx was trying to get a split push going, and instead I think he is going to be split apart here by Perfect eventually. I mean, stun comes through, and yeah, especially with the Hollowed Radiance, you're not doing anything against Renekton. So 2 kills go over to KT. It's a shutdown for the Renekton.
Yeah, this is
getting out of hand.
This is getting out of hand quick. I mean, the biggest issue I have with this is not Lehens being there necessarily, but it's both that he's there and Gideon and Kingen are pushing the bottom lane, and there's no attempt to get Dragon Prio while Lehens is trying to get some vision. You kind of have to do that together, and we'll get this Dragon regardless here. This is going to be Ocean Soul. So you said the chances were high. Well, we low rolled again.
Yeah, it's not half bad, but we do have the follow-up here, as that is pretty half bad. Kingen going to get impaled and taken down. Gideon by himself is going to have to Heartbreak of the Wall.
It's like Nongshim forgot how to
falling
group
apart.
as 5. They're like, okay, we got lane Prio, got Prio on the map, and how to play through that. Objectives though, whoa, I don't know about that. I'm gonna let that dragon go for a real long time. We're not going for first dragon. Second dragon is a little sloppy on the setup. Lehens dies on the actual dragon. Like, look at where the Viego and the Ambessa are on the bottom side of the map as Lehens is trying to collapse near in clear vision. There's just not enough information to be playing like that. Then Calyx dying here.
Oh no.
Yeah. What?
Oh no.
Cut the tape.
Yeah. We already saw the relevant information.
Yeah. Whoa. Anyways,
it's just, yeah, I don't know what it is, Wolf, but it's like they got themselves into a lead finally in a game, and it's like they almost forgot how.
They're like, don't throw on a team fight, that's for sure. Don't show up to team fights, don't team fight. They're getting steal that objective away.
This as well, just assuming nobody else is here.
Yeah, just leave. Gideon has his ult, so you don't need to peel for him. You're not going to win that fight without the rest of your team who's not there because they're in mid. And I'm a little bit perplexed.
Not again. Not again, Lehens. Okay, he's going to get rooted up. And maybe he repels into the sky, as now Perfect in a bit of trouble, has his Dominus up. Do they have the damage is the question. The answer is absolutely not. He just walks it off.
Still a big win there on the bottom side. Looks like they're even going to be able to take this inner turret because of it. Lehens also survived. Did not have flash, but got away. So that's a big win for Nongshim, who still have a lead in this game. It doesn't feel like it sometimes with how some of these skirmishes are going. I mean, Lehens almost getting caught there is problematic because you're Elise, you're super squishy. We've talked about this so many times. Like, I think there was one game when I cast with you, was like, how many times do you think Lehens dies in this game? Like 7 or 8, right? But like,
yeah,
when you have a lot of players on the top side, you can play like that as Elise. When you don't, maybe just play a little bit more passively. You're not the Poppy in this game,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Duckdom, not sure if he was baiting that time around, but he walks up to the Varus, who is still very strong. Now, we do have Duckdom actually in a gold lead, which is funny after the way this entire game has played out.
It's been gifted some kills.
Really, the biggest lead, as you guys can easily see, is in the jungle. Again, a Skarner, so, you know, Cuz doesn't really need to farm, but really the focus needs to be on how well Gideon is farming, and the fact that he hasn't died, and he's got this massive bounty on his head for a reason, as now, once again, that is going to be the Elise, but he is able to get the repel off before the Poppy does punish. And now opening up here is Duckdom. Going to miss that first shot, but second coming through. And the fourth does hit Jiwoo, but they're not able to get anything out of it.
Yeah, that Chains of Corruption felt like a little bit of a panic as he's obviously clicking towards the left side to escape and try to kite his way back. Unfortunately, ult's left. Doesn't end up mattering, luckily for him. Would have been just used there to try to buy some additional space, which they didn't need, as you can see in the end result. But scary to see moments like that with the lead that Jiwoo has. Like, he wasn't able to really do any damage there in that fight. And has been, you know, he laned well. He got an advantage. He's been doing great in the Duckdom 1v1. But we need to see some arrows hit in these skirmishes, in these fights, and slower fights where you could just kind of pick away at the enemy team before the Viego goes in. You're so strong as the Varus in this situation, almost on 2 items. Now, this Otacon angle is a little bit risky. BDD does have TP. Perfect has TP as well. They're trying to force KT out of position. There's no Impale here for Cuz.
Yeah, they want to get Perfect's TP if possible. BDD is in mid, and so can just kind of follow the Galio if he needs be. As now we got Duckdom walking up to the Ambessa, just eviscerated immediately. And not respecting Kingen, that's for sure. Now we got a TP coming through. The chain's going to be Mikhail's. as that was actually the item choice here for Peter, not the redemption in this game. Makes sense. He's now trying to face check, trying to see if they're doing the Otacon. Might be a punish, but a massive Timbers over the wall. This is going to catch 3, and the Impale on top of it too is huge here for KT. But Jiu is still alive, and so is Kingen, and that initial burst is gone from the side of KT. Peter trying to fight up against a Varus is very funny. And it will be Nongshim who take this fight in the end.
They're going to get a bunch of control ward gold here as well on their way out, as they will turn to the Otacon. Khaled's positioning there phenomenal on the attempted taunt, but his VDD making the Tibbers play that almost saves things. Imagine if Duckdom hadn't been caught just moments before in the top lane. That damage was sorely missed after a great combo from BDD set up. Cuz gets the follow-up, and it's this angle here. It's just not really defensible. Peter was there for the potential Peel ultimate, but it's too late. So now he doesn't have his ult either. And then Perfect comes in here, the Michaelis comes down. And from this moment on, you're like, okay, this is a pretty good spot because Calyx has his taunt. The follow-up here a little bit greedy and messy as they just go straight into BDD's Tibbers and Impale. There's just no damage. And Kingen is just like, well, just gonna dash through. They can't stop me. And Gio is then able to just free hit.
All right, trying to set up something once again. Nice Heartbreaker away, but they get the root down, and once again getting assassinated by the Ambessa. Peter gonna go down. It's Cuz trying desperately to peel for his AD carry, but Duckdom's already out, and now it's Cuz. The sacrifice potentially here, as he does kind of scamper away, but they already lost Peter. So big map potential here for the side of Nongshim.
And that's a turret down. Map potential unlocked, as you say, and they're going to look for this inner. Ooh, almost getting a stop there onto Duckdom. Might have actually been the end of his life. Calyx had flash. Because just going to drive through a wall. It's so weird that Skarner could just kind of go through walls. It looks so weird with this model. It feels natural when you're playing it, but when you watch it, sometimes you're like, that's a little weird. Calyx? He has flash. Like I said, he's fine.
Calculated. He's like, I don't need that.
Grab that blue buff on the way out. Yeah!
Yeah.
That was what he wanted all along.
Perfect timing. Just don't look at his flash button.
This fight here, just Peter looking to go in. Just a big overextension. Look who's left alone. Like, I can't blame Duckdom for this because his comp is supposed to be, my team goes in, I've got a Poppy, Renekton, I follow up. But because he just doesn't have any control, doesn't really know the angle of approach for Kingen, he's made himself an unmissable target, you know? He can't miss a park target, as they say. And Kingen just ults him there, and he's pushed out of the fight again. And this is where you can be up like this on Elise when the rest of your team is nearby and you have full vision. I mean, a little bit too much up. Too much up. Not sure.
Very too much up. Okay, Lens. It's fine. It's fine.
He's baiting them.
He's baiting. It actually works. Not too much up. It's going to be a big win here for Nongshim. And the Heartbreaker of the wall means that Cuz goes down. 2 kills here for Nongshim. They're looking at the Baron.
All right, Lehens, I misjudged you. I was familiar with your game, but I thought that was like, that I was a little bit too familiar with your game right there. But no. Peter also on a control ward, and Cocoon exists still.
Yeah. It's tanky enough that those two aren't going to do enough, at least.
Try to deny BDD's entry here.
Doesn't look like Peter's got Smite available. Otherwise, I think he would have swapped already, as he's got the heal on his flash. So that's the answer to my question. Yeah, just the Baron to the side of Nongshim.
I think that was the reason why they, spent so much resources trying to keep that Poppy out, as they weren't sure if he had Smite at the ready or not. So we're trying to make sure that was not a potential steal angle. Lehens looks like very much too much up, like way too much up inside of KT's draft, but Duckdom doesn't hit the flourish, he gets the repel off, gets away, baits perfect in, gets his Dominus out, and then Kingen has had so many game-changing ults on this Ambessa in this game too here. I feel like Gideon's had an amazing part to play in this game, got everyone ahead. Lehens' early game was phenomenal. The control of mid was pretty good for Gio. And they've been a well-oiled machine in most of these team fights, but it's been Kingen's ults that are like, okay, they got this. Like, if fight looks like, oh, it's a little close, and Kingen's like, no. I ulted Duckdom again. I ulted the backline. I peeled. And now he's going to grab this inner turret with the Baron buff. And the gold lead it's been pretty hefty, but now it's insurmountable. It's 9,000, the wallets are heavy, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's gigantic.
And
maybe
way too much up.
Maybe they get Lens here. We do have the Tibbers, but
actually it's fine.
Comes down, and yeah. Meanwhile, The rest of the team is pushing. It's kind of like a 2-2-1 style push, something we don't see very often, but it is happening. Taking mid inhibitor, taking bot inhibitor seems to be the play. And KT are just kind of sitting back. I mean, they can't really do anything about it.
They don't have a great flank ward. Like if the Nongshim players weren't that far up, maybe the control ward on the bottom side there could be used for BDD to try to flank, but he doesn't have his ult. Like, just isn't really an angle here. He's going to have to sit back and try to defend here and accept that your inhibitors are going to be cracked.
All right, they're trying to go for the play now, but the knockaway of the Viego is pretty big. Doesn't matter, though. I think they still win 4v5. The taunt onto everybody is gigantic from Calyx. Nice and pale. But yeah, they just don't have the damage here, KT, to try to do anything. He does get his revenge onto Kingen, at least. Does duck down, but not going to revenge this Nexus, not right now. Perfect, though, trying to frontline. We'll see what he can do. Still holding on to their Nexus turret. As Perfect moving forward, desperation at play here for the side of KT. It's not quite going to work out as Nongshim will be taking this game number 2, and we will have a series on our hands.
Nongshim's very first game win since we had the split. Their first win in 3 months.